Hey you guys, my name is Brittany Bryden. Thank you so much for coming by my YouTube channel. If you're new to me, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. Today's practice is going to be a wind down sequence for you to do in the evening. So when you just got home from work or you just put the kids to bed, do this practice to get a little movement in your body, but also some grounding and some calm. And hopefully it will help you sleep better, which we all want, right? So a couple of things before we get going. So you will need a couple props. So I suggest 2 yoga blocks. If you don't have them, that's totally fine. You can still do this practice. It just helps make some of the postures a little bit more accessible. The other thing is if you have any kind of knee issues, if you'd like to grab a towel, blanket, or anything like that to create some padding on your knee, definitely suggest using that. And one more thing before we get going, if you do prefer to have some music in the background, I have lots of playlists up on my Spotify, and you can play something in the background if that helps you get in that nice state of flow. So the one I would suggest for this class is there's a playlist called Sleepy Time Flow. It's just all kind of like instrumental, very relaxing music. So that would be the one I would suggest. If you don't want any music, great. Anyways, let's get going. So we're going to start off at the top of the mat. I want you to take your 2 blocks with you. You'll take your feet nice and wide, about mat distance apart, maybe even wider. You're going to bend the knees a lot, hinge from the hips, and I just want you to fold forwards into the legs. When you fold, I want you to set those blocks in the highest height. They're about shoulder distance apart here. So you can stay with the hands on the blocks. Maybe you take your forearms on the blocks here. But as you close the eyes, just very gently rock the head a little side to side. And then just come into stillness. I love to spend some time here in this shape in the evening because I like to envision any stress that I'm holding on to, that I'm really gripping onto. I like to envision like it's just falling out of me here. It's leaving my body. It no longer serves me. So that I can come back to being present in the moment. You might have to bend your knees a little bit more. We'll take a few more breaths here. And then bring your hands onto the blocks. Put a nice deep bend into your left leg, so your right leg's going to naturally straighten out. Rotate your hips towards the right and just reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. So open the chest to the right, keep reaching that right arm up, and then bring your right hand back onto the block. And then bend into your right leg, rotate the hips to the left, reach your left arm up. And then as you exhale, set that hand back to the block. So we're just going to float between the sides. Bend into your left leg, open up the hips to the right, reach that right arm up, let that arm fall back. And then exhale, bring the hand back to the block. Bend the right leg, inhale, sweep the left arm up. And then exhale, set it down. And one more round on each side, bend in the left leg, reach your right arm up. And then we'll stay there. So keep pulling that top hand away from the bottom hand. One more breath. And then set the hand back down. And then bend into your right leg, reach your left arm up. Keep pulling that top hand away from the bottom hand. Maybe let it fall back a little bit more. Take an inhale. And then exhale, bring your hand back onto the block. Now your fingertips are going to come on the blocks, lift up halfway, so lengthen the spine. Get some axial extension here. So just make sure you're not pushing the hips back and pushing in your knees. Lifting up through the inner thighs, lengthen, crown of the head forwards, and then flex of the spine, so round and fold forwards and towards your legs. We'll do that 2 more times. Fingertips onto the blocks, lengthen the spine, take an inhale. Fill up into the ribs, the belly, the back. And then exhale, surrender, let go, and fold. One more time, fingertips on the blocks, lift up halfway. And then exhale, fold. You're going to take their blocks down onto the lowest height. Bring your hands onto the blocks and take a step back with both legs and come into downward dog. So you're gonna make your down dog a little bit shorter than you usually do, and really actively push your hands in the blocks, and then the blocks firm down into the floor. And then pedal at the legs, so bending one knee straight and the other, shifting side to side. Roll forward, so shoulders come over top of the wrists as you set the knees down onto the ground. Lift the chest forward, take an inhale. And then as you exhale, round through the spine, push away from the floor, moving through cat-cow. Inhale, take the chest forwards, tailbone up. Exhale to round. So you're going to continue with your cat-cow, and I invite you here to make it whatever it needs to be. So it can be something totally different. You can move the hips, the ribs. Getting out of the headspace and into the body. One more round. And then come into a neutral spine. So you're going to walk the knees back a little bit and take your blocks and just place them on the middle height. You can also do this with the blocks on highest height or lowest height, but let's do them on the middle height today. So you're going to send the hips back, bring your elbows onto the blocks. Interlace the fingers, press the palm of the hands together, and then just start to lower the chest towards the floor. This is one of my favorites to do for the triceps. So you can either stay here with knuckles up, or you can bring your hands back so they're kind of in between the shoulder blades. And then keep envisioning like you're trying to bring the armpits down to the ground. Just make sure you're not compressing or completely sinking through the back. Support the spine by activating through the core. Taking one more breath here. And then lift yourself off the elbows. Adjust your blocks to the lowest height. And then from here, just walk your knees back a little bit, bend the elbows, and you're going to lower all the way down in between the blocks. So you might have to adjust them a little bit wider. Untuck the toes and press the tops of the feet on the floor, and bring your shoulders to rest onto the blocks as you reach your arms back. So the back of the hands on the floor, palms open or up towards the ceiling. And you're going to roll the shoulders back now, broaden through the collarbones. Hands stay on the floor, feet stay on the ground. Just start to lift the head, lift the chest so the shoulders will come off the blocks. And then keep drawing your fingers down to the toes without pushing your chin forwards. So think long neck, engage the inner thighs, engage to the glutes, lift the chest up a little bit more. And then you're going to lower back down to the floor. We'll do two more like that. So you're going to roll the shoulders back, broaden through the collarbones. Lift the chest, lift the head, reach the fingers back. And then lower back down. And one more time. Roll the shoulders back, lift the head, lift the chest, reach. And then lower down. So you're going to bend the elbows, place your hands on the blocks, wrap the elbows in towards center. Tuck your toes under, engage through the glutes, pick the belly off the floor, and then press yourself through table. And then from here, adjust your blocks to the highest height. Bring your left knee to center and just step your right foot forwards in between the blocks. So you might have to tuck your left toes under and bring that left knee back. This is where you can grab your towel or your blanket or anything and place it underneath the knee for you. So your fingertips are going to come on the blocks. If you don't have blocks, your fingertips can come to the floor, or you can take your hands on top of the thigh. So I just want you to wrap the shoulders back just so you can lift the chest and maybe take the gaze up slightly. And your hips are going to go back for a half split. So hips go back, flex the right foot, really draw those toes to the face, and bend that right knee as much as you need here. So you're going to float between the two. Bend in the front leg. You're coming into a low lunge. Lift the chest, lift the gaze. And then half split, hips go back, draw the right toes back to the face. And then one more time, bend in the front leg. And then shift the hips back, half split. So we'll stay here for a few breaths. You can bring the blocks a little closer to you. You can bring them further forwards. You can change the height of the blocks. Make it whatever you need it to be for you. So now you're gonna bend back in your front leg, leave the blocks where they are, and just lift your chest out. Okay, so for this variation, right knee tracking over top of the heel. Feel like you're dragging the foot towards your back knee and you're pulling your left knee forward. So there's just a little traction there. And then your pelvis, so find more of a posterior tilted pelvis. So like you're curling under with the pelvis. And then with that small action, you probably already started to feel that kind of that sensation moving through the top of that left hip flexor there. That's what we're working for. And then your hands are just gonna come on top of your right thigh. So from here, keeping the pelvis the same, all you're gonna do is press your hands onto the thigh, spread the shoulder blades apart, so it's like you're creating a dome in the upper back. Bring your chin more to the chest, and then keep pushing your hands into the thighs. I love this one. Nice opportunity to close the eyes. Stay with your breath. Now the legs are going to stay the same, just lengthen your spine. Your right arm is going to come to the inside of your right leg. So your arm's going to push on the leg is going to push back. So get that feedback there. Now reach your left arm up. Make sure you didn't turn this into an anterior tilted pelvis, posterior still. Reach up with that left arm and then lean over to the right. So you can look underneath that left arm. So I feel this a little bit more through my psoas. You might feel the same, or you might feel it somewhere totally different. And then bring yourself back to center. Take your hands onto your blocks. So bring your blocks on the lowest height, framing your right foot, and then turn your left toes to face the right side of the mat. Yeah. Now, you're just gonna take that right block to the inside of the right foot. And you're just gonna fold to the inside of that right leg. So you can take your forearms onto the block, relax the head, relax the neck. This might be pretty deep hip flexion for you, so if it is, then you can just take your hands onto the blocks. You can elevate yourself a little bit more. Now you're gonna walk your blocks over towards the left side. So your legs stay the same, just walk your blocks towards the left side. And then fold down here. So again, you can stay on the hands or you can come down onto the forearms. But actively press that right knee open. And then bring your hands back onto the blocks. Now walk them all the way back towards the back of the mat. When they come towards the back of the mat, leave them about shoulder distance apart. Left hand stays on the block, reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. And then take that right arm now so the right bicep hovers above the ear. So you're reaching your right arm to what is the back of the mat. Keep lifting your chest up. And then bring your hand onto the block. So we're now turning to face the back. Come onto both knees. So both blocks are on the lowest height at the back of your mat, and you're in table. So from here, start to move through cat-cow. Following your breath, closing the eyes. One more round. And then come into a neutral spine. So adjust your blocks now to the highest height. And step your left leg forwards in between the blocks. Walk your right knee back a little bit. Pat out that knee if you need. Fingertips come on the blocks. Lift the chest, lift the gaze. And then half split, hip shift back, and draw your left toes to the face. And then low lunge, bend in the front leg, lift your chest up. And then half split, hips go back. And then one more time, bend in the front leg. Half split, and we will stay there. So again, adjust your blocks as you need. Make sure you're not taking the entire thing in the back. So if you are, bend that left knee a little bit or a lot. Give yourself a little traction so that you can actually hinge from the hips. And then lifting the chest up. So you're gonna bend into the front leg. Take both blocks on the lowest height. Oops, I lied. Keep the blocks where they are. Just lift yourself up. So bring that left knee right over top of the heel. Slight posterior tilt with the pelvis. Hands come on top of that left thigh. So as you push the hands to the thigh, spread the shoulder blades apart and bring your chin in towards your chest. Lengthen the spine so the legs stay the same. Your left arm is coming to the inside of the left leg. So arm pushes on the leg, leg pushes back. Right arm is reaching up to the ceiling. Reach up as you inhale. Exhale, lean to the left. Looking underneath that right arm. And then bring yourself back to center. So now you're gonna grab those two blocks. Place them on the lowest height to the inside of that left foot. Turn your right toes to face the left side. And then from here, as you hug your left thigh into the side ribs, you can stand the hands. Maybe take one forearm down, maybe you take both forearms down, but relax the head. Close the eyes. And as you stay in the moments of pause and stillness, it's a great time to observe your internal landscape. So you're going to take those blocks, legs stay the same. Just come onto the hands, walk your blocks over to the right side. And then again, you're going to fold. So either you stay on the hands or come down on the forearms. And when you notice that internal landscape, think of your thoughts as an object. So you have the choice in whether you pick up that object or not. It's the same thing with your thoughts. It's up to you whether you get involved with those thoughts or not. Come onto the hands, and now walk your blocks all the way towards what was or is the front of your mat. And then right hand stays on the block, reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. And then take your left arm just hovering above the ear, lifting the chest up. Breathing through the side of the body. And then set your hands onto the blocks, pivot to face the front. Cat-cow again. Should feel pretty nice by now. One more round. All right, come to sit on the heels. We're gonna keep one of those blocks, but take the other one off to the side. Okay, so we're gonna come down onto our backs. Have the knees bent, feet on the ground. If you don't have a block, don't worry, just do this without a block. But if you do have one, lift the hips up, slide the block underneath you, give yourself a little height. So we're all gonna take the left leg forwards, press the left heel on the ground, and then bring your right leg in towards the chest. So you can either interlace the hands below the knee, or you can take the hands behind the back of the hamstring. But I want you to make this yours. So whether you stay here in stillness, bringing the knee closer to the chest, or whether you add some movement through the hips, maybe some circles, that's totally your choice. Close the eyes and just listen to what your body needs here. Taking one more breath. And we'll take both legs forwards. So if you are elevated by the block, then take your legs at least mat distance apart. At least, maybe even wider. Your pinky toes are gonna fall down towards the ground. And if you're doing this on the block and you're like, no, that does not feel good for the low back, then just bend your knees and come into that table. We are not here long. And we'll set up for the other side. So bringing that right heel towards the midline, press the right heel down. Left leg comes in towards the chest. Hands interlace behind the hamstring or below the knee. And as you keep that right leg stable, do whatever you need here with the left hip. Hugging your left leg in. And then bring your right knee in towards the chest. So both knees are bent now, and then take your legs up towards the ceiling. So they don't have to be completely straight. Have at least a soft bend in the knees, but then do some circles through the ankles and the toes. And then let the legs and the feet just be heavy, feeling the change of blood flow in the legs. Bend your knees and set your feet down on the mat. And if you do have a block, lift yourself off the block, set the block off to the side. Lower your hips to the right and take your knees to the left for a reclined twist. So you can bring the knees together, you can cross one leg over top of the other. You can slide a pillow or a block in between the thighs. Your right arm is either going to reach to the right side or reach it back slightly. Just find the angle that suits your shoulders best. Soften the gaze. And connect to your breath. And very gently setting it for the other side. So knees fall over to the right, left arm out. Settle in. Bring yourself back to center. Begin to set up for your last and final posture, whatever that looks like for you here. Whether it's on your back, in a seated position, on your belly. I just invite you to take some time here in stillness. Finding some clarity in the mind by using your breath as your anchor. So every time that you feel like you are trailing off, just be aware of it. And instead of picking up those thoughts, put them down and let them go. Thank you so much for spending this time here with me. Always be humble and be kind. Namaste.